We are Future Radio.
Next weekend, the TARDIS materialises back onto our screens as Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor and Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday star in their first series of Doctor Who. Many Whovians will be watching the launch episodes on Saturday, eagerly anticipating what's in store for the Time Lord on his latest set of adventures, but one fan will be watching with an extra close eye. Harry Jordan is a filmmaker from Norwich who is currently producing his own love letter to the show in the form of Project Who Next, a documentary celebrating the show that has taken him all over the country to meet some of the stars involved. I'm delighted to say that Harry joins us now to tell us more. So Harry, thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. This is wonderful.
No worries. So I guess the best place to start is where did your love for the show begin?
I think, like a lot of people kind of my age, I was 6 years old when Doctor Who first came back in 2005. And I think for a lot of people, instantly, I was just completely captivated by it. It was kind of one of those things, as it wasn't on initially when I was younger, I wasn't, like my parents kind of would occasionally mention it in conversation, but it wasn't something, because it wasn't on, I sort of wasn't really aware of it. And then when it came back, from that very first episode, I was just in love with it. I'd never seen anything like that, and it was incredible. I think the beauty of the show is that it does connect to a lot of people, and I think that's like every single week it changes, and I think that's just like a wonderful thing. Like, it's never the same concept. I truly think Doctor Who is for all ages, and I think that's why it works so well as a family show. Like, there's a reason it's been going for over 60 years now, is because there's so many generations of fans that just love it, and I think you can watch it as a 6-year-old boy, or you can watch it as a 60-year-old man, or whatever it is, and it captivates an entire audience. I think that's a wonderful thing.
So you say there that you've been watching it since it returned as a 6-year-old. From what you've just said, was it fair to say that your parents weren't sort of big Whovians during the classic run?
I think they sort of watched it, but they probably weren't like diehard fans. They sort of would maybe watch parts of it or so, but they wouldn't kind of digest it in like a lot of us Whovians that just kind of absorb every second of it and analyse everything.
What was their thought process to put 6-year-old Harry in front of that TV to watch the first episode back?
I think it was like, there's this show coming back to BBC One, you're going to like it, we're going to put it in front of you and see what you think of it. And it was literally that. I have such a vivid memory of sitting on my mum's knee watching the very first episode, Rose, of the new series, and it was just like, I remember just instantly, there's that great bit when the Doctor grabs Rose's hand and he's like, run. And it was in that moment then I was like, this is like, it blew my 6-year-old mind. I was like, this is incredible, this is so cool, it's an amazing thing. And then every single week was just something completely different, which was I think is why I love it so much.
So bring us up to date to present day then. What gave you the idea to go full in with this documentary? What was your inspiration behind it, and when was the moment you thought, actually I can do this?
I think when it came to being a Doctor Who fan, I've kind of been a big Whovian throughout this new sort of era, and I've kind of watched it every week and analysed kind of every second of it. I think the point for me was in 2022, I went to London Comic Con. I had the really exciting opportunity to meet David Tennant, Jodie Whittaker and Sylvester McCoy. And it was in that moment, I remember just the excitement of queuing up, the excitement of meeting them, having the picture was just such a thrill, and it was such an exciting thing, and getting to speak to all the fans in the queue and just getting to know people and hearing their own stories about Doctor Who. I thought, there is something really unique about this show. There is something really special that I don't think many other shows have. And I remember after I met them, I remember being back on the train on the way to back to Norwich from London, and I just remember thinking to myself, this has been one of the best days of my life. Literally, who's next? Who next could I meet from Doctor Who? And then I remember coming back I was on the train, and I just remember making notes on my phone, constant notes, pages of notes about the people I could meet, the kind of things I could do. And then that was when the idea of the documentary kind of came into my head. I was like, I could document a lot of this, and to be able to film some stuff and kind of put it into a little love letter, basically.
So what did these original notes say then? And how many of the notes you originally made have come into fruition?
So initially, maybe slightly optimistically, I had 60 people on my list. I thought the 60th anniversary would be quite nice to kind of meet 60 people. I haven't quite hit that just yet, but one of my big things was I wanted to meet as many doctors as possible, and I've been very, very lucky to have met quite a lot of them, which has been wonderful. And Matt Smith in particular, they've all been wonderful, but Matt Smith is my favourite Doctor. I've met him twice, and it's just he's exactly everything I want him to be. Just such a wonderful person. So that was kind of like a lot of the kind of excitement there. But I think some of the notes were, it was just a case of like, it'd be great if you could meet this person, or if you could meet this person. So those have kind of come into happening. There's been the odd thing as well where I've got to go to Wales and do a little bit of like on location sort of sequences where I'll do like a little tour of Cardiff to go and visit Doctor Who locations, and I've done the same for London, so that's kind of been an exciting part of it as well.
So it's fair to say that this is taking you all across the country then?
Absolutely, yeah. I've adventured to Cardiff, Edinburgh, Nottingham, done a little bit here in Norwich, and there are plans hopefully to go a little bit broader. It'd be quite fun. I know there's quite a lot of conventions outside of England, so it'd be quite nice to maybe go abroad at some point and meet some people, because there's quite a few people still on my list that I'd love to meet, and I know they tend to do conventions sort of outside of England, so they're kind of next on my list, I think.
So this list then, did you have a time frame in which you wanted to meet them by? You mentioned that you wanted it to almost correlate with the 60th anniversary. That's obviously now past,
sure.
But did you sort of set a time frame initially? Or
Ideally, yeah. My initial kind of thoughts were I wanted to release it in time for November. I thought it'd be perfect to kind of release it around the 60th anniversary. And then as I was making it, I thought there's still some people that I haven't met, and ideally, like, to make the ultimate kind of version of this documentary, it'd be lovely to have met as many people as I want to as possible. And at that period in time, there was still quite a lot of people I hadn't met. There's a few companions, sort of even now, that I have yet to meet. So that was initially it was set for November. And then as it got closer to that date, I thought, I don't quite think that's going to happen. But one benefit of that is it's given me the opportunity to go and just maybe take my time with it a little bit further. Because like, I ultimately wouldn't want to make it and rush it. Like, if I have more time to kind of change bits of it or make it basically my ultimate love letter, I thought it'd be best to maybe delay the release date by a little bit, but it'll hopefully be the ultimate love letter that I want it to be.
You've not actually announced a release date. Do you have one in the back of your mind though?
I do. Roughly, it's quite a while away. I do apologise. It's sometime next year, I'm sort of thinking roughly sometime around the summer would be lovely. It's just sort of my plan for this year is to hopefully cover the next people and then slowly start to kind of make a bit of an end towards it. I know in July, not in August, sorry, they've just announced the Doctor Who proms, which is something I'd like to hopefully get a ticket to and attend, and hopefully do a little bit of coverage on that. Would be a wonderful part of the documentary if I get to do that.
Speak to me more about the actual process of making a documentary. How have you found it?
It's a lot of editing. Editing is a long process, and I do also wonder maybe that's why I think it has taken a slight delay. Is because editing is I've edited the whole thing on a laptop. And some of the sequences I think have probably killed the laptop a little bit. So that's kind of delayed it a little bit. But there's a lot of the bits I've enjoyed doing is just the writing. And every single day, I initially had a script that I started working on around about the time I met David Tennant, and then sort of continued it a little bit last year. But I've found as I've continued with the process, I've continued writing parts to it. So beyond the editing of just the kind of like constant editing little sequences here and there, a lot of the writing has changed, and a lot of like the vocal recording stuff as well. This kind of is the main behind the scenes bits that I've been doing, because a lot of it will be sort of narration. So I think that they are the kind of key bits really. But also just kind of doing my research and making sure that I'm kind of covering as enough bits for as many fans as possible. But also there are a lot of people that haven't seen Doctor Who, and I kind of want to make it enjoyable for them as well, so they kind of get an idea of what this show actually means to me and the millions of other people all around the world. I've kind of got in touch with a lot of other fans and got their perspective, and I've got them to be a part of it. So hopefully like it'll be a love letter from not just me, but a lot of fans to how special this show is, really. Is
this the first documentary you've made?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously that can be quite daunting, I guess.
Sure, totally, yeah. I've sort of jumped in at the deep end, really, with this one. I've always, like, apart from Doctor Who, another one of my big loves is just movies in general. The first film I ever saw at the cinema was Philosopher's Stone, the first Harry Potter film, and that kind of, excuse the pun, but the magic of that was just very captivating. So I've always had a big love for like movies and that kind of visual entertainment, and I've just done a lot of research on sort of things like that. I think that's where a lot of my interests are. So kind of mixing my love of film and Doctor Who kind of felt like a natural mix. But yeah, I think when it comes to a first documentary, this is probably quite a big one to kind of delve into.
Anyone who follows you on social media, you've got a dedicated Instagram account and you've posted regular updates.
Sure.
And almost have kept like a production diary.
Yeah.
So what's the feedback been like on that?
Really wonderful, actually. Yeah, there's a lot of comments I get and sort of messages that come through, and they are just people. And that is actually, I think this is one of the things that every time I get it, it just makes me smile. Is I'm getting messages from people in Albania and people in Africa and America and all these different people all around the world that are sending me messages saying, "Oh, this is such a great thing that you're doing, and how exciting you're getting to meet your childhood heroes." And it's like, that's kind of another reason why I feel like I want to make it, is because I kind of want to do it on behalf of all the fans as well. I kind of want to make it as special for them as it is for me. So there's been a lot of love, which, you know, that's exactly what Doctor Who is about for me. It's about the love of the show. So.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That shows how special Doctor Who is, and that shows how special the fandom is as a whole. If you're getting people from literally the other end of the planet messaging you and being inspired by your work, it's definitely something to be proud of.
Thank you.
But what, or more aptly, who is next for you? You mentioned that you still need to tick companions off your list.
Totally. Yeah, I think because I'm a huge lover of classic Who, but because I sort of naturally grew up on New Who, there's a lot of people from the new era that I'm trying to sort of meet. So the documentary will cover a lot of the classic people that I've met, but it'll sort of mainly be the newer era. So I've met, I'm trying to think who I've met. So I've met Karen Gillan, and I've also met Mandip Gill. I'm trying to think. I've met Billie Piper as well. They're the kind of main three, I think, off the top of my head. But there's a lot of like classic, a lot of newer ones that I'd love to meet. So someone like Jenna Coleman, Freema Agyeman, Arthur Darvill will be a great one. I've met Catherine Tate as well. She was wonderful. I think also with regards to a release date, a little plan I put together is I want to meet Ncuti and Millie. I think that would kind of be a nice natural ending to the documentary as well, kind of basically taking us right up to modern day.
And what is next for you as a filmmaker after this passion project comes to an end? Do you have any aspirations to make anything else and make more documentaries?
Definitely, yeah. I think when it comes to delving into other stuff, I can sort of see myself. I think this is the thing with the documentary for Doctor Who is, I'll meet all the people I want to meet, I'll release it, and then I'll think to myself, oh, there's some other people I'd like to meet. And then like a few years' time when we have another Doctor, I'll think, oh, I'd love to meet them as well. I'd love to turn that into a documentary. So I can definitely see myself delving into another sequel type thing to this Doctor Who one at some point. But I mean, as I've said, because I'm a huge fan of films, there's lots of people from movies I'd love to meet. Like a Harry Potter documentary would be quite a fun one, or a Marvel one. Be quite fun. So yeah, I can definitely see myself. I think they'll be of the similar vein where I'm kind of meeting these people, because it's kind of, for me as well as like a super nerd, basically it would be exciting to document it just for my own personal kind of enjoyment, I guess. But also for the people, you know, for the other fans around the world that love these things, it would be kind of nice to kind of meet them on behalf of those people as well, I think.
Well, Harry, unfortunately, we are running out of time. I could speak to you for hours, but I guess I'll finish off with the new series drops at the weekend. So what are you most looking forward to?
In terms of what I want to see, just everything. I am, like, the era of New Doctor Who is incredibly exciting. I think the main thing is just seeing Ncuti and Millie and their relationship. They just seem so wonderful, and I think just in general, just sort of seeing what we have, what Russell's cooking up for us. I think there's a lot of excitement.
Yeah, and where can people go to stay up to date with all of your production updates?
So, as you mentioned, on Instagram, under the name Project Who Next, just all one word, is where the magic happens there. And then also through YouTube is kind of where a lot of the video bits and bobs pop up. So that's also just under Project Who Next, all one word. That
was Harry Jordan, a local filmmaker who told us about his new documentary, Project Who Next, a film all about Doctor Who and his experiences with the show. Stay up to date with his production updates. You can follow him at Project Who Next on Instagram.
Your community radio station for Norwich, Future Radio.